Have you ever looked at Hollywood and felt like something just doesn't feel right anymore? Like behind all the bright lights, the fancy clothes and the red carpets, something darker is going on. Well, you're not imagining things. And today, we're talking about a moment, a confession that came from Johnny Depp. And honestly, he probably never planned for the whole world to hear it like this. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. There was no big camera close-up, no stage, no huge emotional breakdown. It was just one quiet, honest moment. A moment that slipped out, a moment that sounded completely real. And that moment is shaking Hollywood from the inside. And if you've been watching the chaos in Hollywood lately, the people leaving, the breakdowns, the sudden mental health breaks, the fights with studios, trust me, you're not the only one wondering what's really going on. This is part of it. Johnny Depp's confession showed more than just some headline quote. It exposed a truth about fame that nobody in power wants to admit. A truth that explains why so many actors disappear, why so many careers go silent, and why some of the biggest stars in the world suddenly walk away without any warning. Today, we're breaking it down in simple words. What he said, why it matters, and what it secretly reveals about the Hollywood machine. So relax, settle in, and listen closely. Because the most shocking part isn't about fame or money, it's about the price of both. Let's start with the moment itself. During a quiet interview, Johnny Depp said something that stopped people in their tracks. He didn't shout it. He didn't make it bigger than it was. He didn't perform it. He just said it, and it sounded like truth spoken by someone who lived it deeply. He said, "Hollywood isn't a dream factory. It's a machine, and sometimes it eats the people who run it." Think about that for a second. Really think about it. Hollywood, the place we all grew up believing was magical. Glitter, romance, red carpets, fairy tale endings. He didn't describe it as a dream. He called it a machine. Cold, hungry, powerful, and without feelings. And when he said, "It eats the people who run it," that one sentence explained more than any scandal ever could. Because there's the Hollywood we see and the Hollywood they actually live in. We see applause, they feel pressure. We see luxury, they feel alone. We see success, they battle just to survive. We think Hollywood makes kings, but sometimes it destroys them. Let's break it down in a way that's easy to understand. Most people think actors who step away are quitting. They think stars who go quiet are fading away. They think celebrities who vanish are spiraling or losing control. But what if? What if they're not falling apart? What if they're protecting themselves? What if stepping away isn't weakness, but the ultimate strength? Johnny Depp wasn't bitter in that moment. He wasn't angry. He wasn't trying to call someone out or start drama. His tone, it sounded tired. It sounded honest. It sounded like someone who finally didn't care about pretending anymore. It sounded like a man who survived something. Because when you have to be perfect every single day, when every smile is watched closely, every breath becomes a headline. Every mistake becomes a threat to your career. That isn't living. That's performing life instead of actually living it. Imagine if every time you felt sad, confused, tired, frustrated, or just human, you weren't allowed to show it. Imagine the world demanding that you stay perfect, that you stay smiling, that you stay beautiful, that you never break, not even once. That's not fame, that's a prison made of camera flashes and applause. And that's the part most fans never see. People used to think Johnny was disappearing, isolating himself, falling apart. They looked at his silence and immediately thought it meant weakness. Some wrote headlines like, "Depp hides away," or "Depp loses touch." People whispered he was done, finished, a thing of the past, slowly fading like an old photograph forgotten in a drawer. They didn't see a man choosing peace, they saw a man losing power. But here's the thing, Hollywood has always misunderstood quiet people, because in a place built on noise, silence feels threatening. So when Johnny stopped showing up everywhere, when he chose stillness over the spotlight, the world panicked. Commentators thought they knew what was happening. Fans worried. Critics smirked and made fun. But what if he wasn't breaking? What if he was getting stronger? What if he stepped away not because he lost himself, but because he finally found himself? Think about that. How many times has society mistaken rest for collapse? How many times do people assume you're failing just because you're not performing for them anymore? It happens in normal life too, right? Someone stops posting on social media. People say, "Where did they go?" Someone stays home more. They whisper, "Are they okay?" Someone sets boundaries. They assume they changed in a bad way. We all do it. We mistake growth for absence, evolution for withdrawal, healing for silence. So imagine that mentality multiplied by millions. Cameras, tabloids, paparazzi, gossip shows, bloggers, YouTube commentators, day after day, year after year. Silence doesn't feel like relief in that world. It looks like disappearance. Privacy isn't self-care. It becomes a rumor. Stepping back isn't healing. It's framed as a downfall. Hollywood confuses healing with disappearing. They treat silence like it's a scandal. They treat privacy like it's rebellion. They treat peace like it's defeat. Because in Hollywood, if you're not constantly loud, constantly visible, constantly producing, constantly feeding the spotlight, they think something's wrong with you. In that world, noise equals success. Attention equals value. Being visible equals being relevant. They don't understand quiet confidence. They only understand public validation. But here's the secret most of Hollywood forgot. Silence is where real strength rebuilds itself. Think about someone recovering from a storm. It's never loud. True healing doesn't scream. It sits quietly. It breathes. It regains energy. A tree doesn't shout when it grows stronger roots. It grows in silence. A person doesn't heal loudly. They heal in private, in moments the world never sees. Johnny's silence wasn't retreat. It was recalibration. It was reflection. It was a man separating his identity from the noise around him. He didn't disappear. He rewrote himself, and the world wasn't prepared for that. Because we live in a culture where the louder you are, the more they listen. But sometimes the most powerful people are the ones who speak the least, because they don't need noise to prove they matter. When someone chooses peace over performance, society warns them they're falling behind. But maybe they're just finally catching up with themselves. Hollywood never expected Johnny Depp, one of its biggest icons, to walk away from the circus and find comfort in silence, music, art, small gatherings, personal moments, authenticity. Not cameras, not applause, not the world watching, but the world finally not watching. And that confused them because Hollywood values eyes, attention, flash, reaction. They don't know how to process someone who's no longer desperate for their approval. So they label it, they twist it, they try to control the narrative. He's gone, he's fading, he's done. No, he was just done with them. Not with life, not with art, not with himself. And honestly, there's something powerful in that. A quiet rebellion, a gentle refusal to play a game that drains your soul. Hollywood sells the idea that you must always be on, always perfect, always shining, always available, always public. But real humans aren't built like that. Even stars need darkness sometimes. Not emotional darkness, but peace, quiet, calm nights. Laughter with friends, silence with someone they love, and moments where no one expects anything from them. Maybe Depp realized something before the rest of the industry. Being everywhere isn't success. Being yourself is, and sometimes you only find yourself when the noise finally stops. For a long time, people thought stillness meant weakness, but maybe stillness is where warriors gather strength. Maybe he didn't fall apart. Maybe he came back together stronger, calmer, quieter, more human. And isn't that the ultimate victory? To come out of chaos and find peace instead of bitterness. A man who's broken hides. A man who is healing prepares. When people stop talking and start watching quietly, that's not defeat, that's transformation. And transformation scares Hollywood more than scandal ever will. Because when someone rises without their machine, without their noise, without their script, they prove something dangerous to the system. You don't need Hollywood to remain legendary. And that is a truth the industry cannot tolerate. Because if more stars realize it, the whole illusion starts to crack. Johnny Depp didn't disappear. He evolved. He chose peace. He chose privacy. He chose self-worth over public approval. He chose life over performance. Silence didn't break him, it built him. And now when he speaks, people listen differently, not because he is loud, but because he doesn't need to be. But sometimes silence is strength. Sometimes walking away isn't surrender, it's strategy. Sometimes peace isn't hiding, it's winning in a way the world doesn't immediately understand. Because there is a power in choosing not to fight loudly. There is dignity in deciding, I don't owe chaos any more of my energy. And there is a quiet kind of confidence that says, I don't need to prove anything. I already know who I am. When Depp finally spoke, he didn't roar, he didn't point fingers, he didn't demand sympathy or try to turn the spotlight dramatic. Instead, he spoke with softness, the kind that only comes from someone who has lived through storms and learned not just to survive them, but to walk out calmer than before. He wasn't attacking Hollywood. If anything, he was letting it expose itself. He wasn't frustrated, he was free. He wasn't broken, he was awake. And when someone has walked through fire and comes out without anger, that's not weakness, that's someone who found peace deeper than applause, fame, or headlines could ever give. It takes courage to speak loudly, but sometimes it takes far more courage to speak quietly and mean every word. He lived the dream, he paid the price, he survived the machine, and now he speaks differently. His energy today feels different, his voice sounds calmer. His presence feels grounded. It's like he learned something the rest of Hollywood is just starting to understand. Peace is more valuable than fame. And here's the interesting part. Insiders say he's not the only one. They say other big actors quietly agree with him. They say people are preparing their exits. They say the old Hollywood system, the one built on fear, silence, and control, is collapsing. Slowly, quietly, but steadily. Even a studio insider hinted that actors aren't scared anymore. And that scares Hollywood more than anything. Because for decades, silence protected the power. Fear kept the machine running, but now people are speaking up. People are stepping back. People are choosing peace over applause. Some stars are already leaving. Some are choosing streaming over studios. Some are choosing music. Some are choosing family. Some are choosing privacy. Some are choosing themselves. And when one person, like Johnny Depp, says the quiet truth out loud, it gives others permission to breathe, to think, to question, to stop pretending. This feels like a cultural shift, a new Hollywood, where actors no longer need permission to be human, where silence isn't weakness, where privacy isn't a scandal, where peace is success. And honestly, it's beautiful because the world doesn't need perfect people, it needs real ones. So, let's talk honestly for a second. What do you think? Do you see Hollywood differently after hearing this? Do you think he was warning us about something deeper? Or do you think he was just finally speaking his truth after carrying it for years? Comment and tell me what you feel. I read every thought because these conversations matter. And if this opened your eyes or made you rethink how Hollywood works, hit like, not for me, but so more people can see and understand the truth behind the spotlight. If you want more deep breakdowns like this, subscribe. Turn on the bell because the next Hollywood reveal is coming soon. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. And if you're already subscribed, thank you. You're not just watching videos here, you're part of a growing community that cares about truth, empathy, and real voices in a world full of noise. Remember this, not everything that shines is gold, and sometimes the quietest words are the ones that shake the world the most. The end of this story reminds us that real power doesn't always come with loud announcements or dramatic moments. Sometimes the biggest changes happen in whispers, in quiet decisions, in moments when someone finally chooses themselves over what everyone else expects. Johnny Depp's journey shows us that walking away from the spotlight doesn't mean you're weak or finished. It means you're strong enough to know what truly matters in life and brave enough to choose it.